Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's session. In today's session, we will look into the box model. And in the previous class, we understood the cascade principle. So, in case of a multiple levels of the styling for the HTML element, how the cascade principle is used and how it will resolve that particular conflict. So, the cascade principle involves how browser will find out which particular style to be applied and how to resolve the conflict. It uses the CSS provided system based on the inheritance, based on the specificity, and based on the location. In case of a inheritance, some properties are by default inheritable and some properties are not inheritable. For example, font weight, font size. So they are inherited into descendants, and there are certain properties like margin, border, those are not inherited, and if you want we can make them inheritable. So that is one way of understanding how the conflict is resolved. Second one is the specificity. We will find out the specificity, and based on a number is assigned as A, B, C, D, based on the whether there is any particular ID or the class ID is provided, or whether there is a HTML element is there, whether how many IDs are there, how many classes are there. Based on that, we assign the numbers A, B, C, D, and according to that, we will come up with a which has to be assigned, which rule has to be assigned for particular HTML element. And the next one is the location. Based on the location, if inheritance and specificity does not resolve the conflict, then comes the location. Based on the location of the styling, it will override uh, the previous styles. So the highest preference will be given to the one which the style which is specified in the HTML element. It will override everything else, and the one style that is specified in the browser or the external file, those are the they will get overridden if they are those styles are specified at the lower locations. So that is how the conflict is resolved. Then the box model, every HTML element is represented using a element box, and this is the box model where this is the border of the HTML element, and the margin specifies the spacing between the parent, okay, and the margin is on the all the sides, left, top, right, and the bottom. And whatever this space you are saying, this is the background color, or you can have the background image of the parent element. This is the border of the HTML element that we are talking about, and this will have the a padding. So if you see here, there is a light gray shade here from here to here, also on the top and also on the right and also on the bottom. That is called as a padding. Padding is nothing but the spacing between the border of the element and the element content area. So there we can provide a background color or a background image for that particular element. And this width and this height is nothing but the width and the height of the content area, element content area. This is the example. You can see there is a paragraph, and there is a padding, and also there is a margin provided. Background color or image of an element fills the element due to its border. In contemporary web design, it has become extremely common to use CSS to display purely presentational images, okay, such as background gradients, patterns, or decorative images, rather than using the IMG. So we are going to use the background property. Inside the background, yesterday we looked into these properties. Background. So it is a shorthand property where you can specify many properties of related to background. Then background attachment, whether you want to have that background image as a scrollable or not. So values can be fixed or scroll. Then background color, you can set the background color using the just the name. predefined name given by the CSS standards, or you already studied what are the other various ways to provide the color, like RGB or RGB alpha, hexadecimal, etc. Then background image we can provide, background position, where the particular image in the background to be positioned, background repeat. This property, the image that is we are providing in the background, we can make it to repeat, okay, or not repeat, or repeat horizontally or repeat vertically. Then background size. So what is the size of the background? We can specify using this particular property, background hyphen size. This is the example. You can see the property, background hyphen image colon. This is the location of the GIF file, ends with a semicolon. Next property, background hyphen repeat. So this is the size of the background image, and this is the size of the background. When we say repeat, it's going to repeat the complete background. So this is how you are going to see the background. And this is the second case scenario. Image is the same, but background repeat, we are saying no repeat, means only one instance of the image will be pasted on the background. And in this particular case, background repeat, we are giving the value repeat hyphen y. So along the y axis, this particular image will repeat to fill the complete y axis. Similarly, repeat hyphen x, it will fill the complete x axis. It will repeat itself. Background position, this is the always the position of the image is with respect to the top left corner. So whatever the position you give, it is with respect to the top left corner. You can see this is the image, same image, background hyphen position. We are giving 300 pixel and 50 pixel. So this 300 pixel is, you can see from it's a x-axis, and this is a y-axis. So it starts from the top left corner, it goes to 300 pixel, and from there y-axis 50 pixel. So this is where the image will be placed. Borders provide a way to visually separate elements. So we know that we can use the borders which will separate the different elements. So we can use it for separating elements. You can put borders around all the four sides of an element, or just one side, or two side, or three sides. So we will have the border on four sides. If you want to put border on all the side, we can do that, or just if you want to do one or two or three sides, you can do that. Borders, these are the properties. Border, again, border is a shorthand property, allows you to set the style, width, color of a border in one property. This order is important and must be used like this. So shorthand means it includes many other properties included in this. When we say border colon, you can specify border style, border width, and border color. For example, in the previous examples, we saw border style, let us say solid, then it can be solid or dotted, whatever. Then border width of the border, you want to say 2 pixel or 5 pixel. Then border color, which color you want to give for that border. So all these properties can be set in just one shorthand property using border. Or you can have separately, you can specify border style. It specifies the line type. So possible values are solid, dotted, dashed, doubled, groove, ridge, inset, and outside. These are the possible styles that we can give for the border style. Border width, you can specify what is the width. It would be in either like in some kind of a absolute unit, either in pixel, point, or inches, okay, whichever the it would be absolute. It is not a relative measure. Or there are certain keywords that are provided by CSS standards, thin, medium, etc. So thin will correspond to certain thickness level, and medium will correspond to certain thickness level, and that is predefined. Border color, any color you can specify for the border, and you know how to set the color of the particular uh, element. So either as a name, as a hexadecimal, there are so other options. Border, radius. Suppose if you want to have the rounded corner, then the radius of that rounded corner is specified using the border hyphen radius. Border hyphen image, the URL of an image to use a border. So you can use a image for the border as well. Shorthand notation. So TRBL, or you can call it as a trouble, top, right, bottom, left. So with border, margin, padding properties, these are long form and shortcut methods to set the four sides. We know that there are four sides. Whenever we talk about the border or the margin or the padding, it has four sides. It has left, top, right, and bottom, and always it starts from TRBL. So you can remember it as treble, top, right, bottom, left. So border hyphen top hyphen color. So you can set it as separately. This is for setting top. This is for the right side. This is for the bottom side, and this is for the left side. Suppose if you want to use a shorthand, you want to set all the sides as red, you can just use border hyphen color instead of using this. But if you have a requirement to set a different colors to all the borders, then you can access those properties separately. Otherwise, you can say border hyphen color colon red. So all the sides will be red. But in this case, top is red, right side it is green, bottom side is yellow, left side is blue color. And border hyphen color, you can also specify this same property like this, because so it will take this as top TRBL. This is top TRBL. This is top, right, bottom, and left. This is how it will be set. So you can see border hyphen color colon top, right, bottom, left. This is the example. Margins and padding. So margins and padding, why we need margins and padding? So in order to have your the display of the HTML content, in order to have a good visual appearance and to increase the readability, we can make use of the margins and the padding. This is the first example. For the paragraph, we have a border, solid, 1 pt, 1 point, and red. So for each paragraph we will have a border. We are going to have a border. You can see the border here, and it is of the color red, and it is a solid line, and it is about thickness of 1 point, and margin is 0. With the parent element there is no spacing, and padding is 0. There is no spacing between the element border and the content area of the paragraph. So this is how it will look like. And next one, you can see same setting as this. Only thing is margin is given as 30 pixel. You can see there is a margin with the parent element. So there is a 30 pixel to the left, to the top, to the right, and to the bottom. And here you can see between these two elements there is a spacing of a 30 pixel only. So this is because it collapses. So vertical spacings are collapsed, and whichever is the higher margin will be given. So in this case, this paragraph and this paragraph both have a 30 pixels as the margin. So it will collapse and make this vertical spacing as only 30 pixels. So that is why between the paragraph you will see only 30 pixel, and this collapsing will not happen horizontally. It is only for the vertical. Next, so here we gave the margin. So margin is space between the parent element and the paragraph element, the element we are talking about. If we give the padding, the padding means what? It will give a spacing between the paragraph element and the content area. You can see here there is a 30 pixel spacing here, left, top, right, and the bottom. So this is how the margins and the paddings are used. So margins, did you notice that a space between the paragraphs 1 and 2, between 2 and 3 is the same? as the spaces before paragraph 1 and after paragraph 3. This is due to the fact that adjoining vertical margins collapse. So I told you, so we will not have a margin of 60 pixel here, because this has 30 on the top, this has 30 pixel on the left, but it will collapse that. And whichever is the maximum, in this case both are same, so 30 pixel will be the spacing between two paragraphs. Collapsing margins, here you can see the example. This particular property is div property. This is a div property. Div is border dotted 1 pt green. So this particular div, you can see this div, this is dotted and 1 pt width and green in color. Padding is 0 and margin is 90 pixel and 20 pixel. So it will give a 90 pixel on the top and on the right. Okay, 90 pixel on the top and bottom, 20 pixels on the left and right. And then we have a paragraph border is solid. This is the paragraph border, solid, 1 point thickness and red in color. Padding 0, you can see there is no space between the paragraph element and the content area. Margin 50 pixel and 20 pixel. So from div it will have a 50 pixel, and on the right and left it will have 20 pixel. Bottom again it will have a 50 pixel. When the vertical margins of two elements touch, the largest margin value of the element will be displayed. As I told you, always if there is a margin vertically between the two elements, it will check whichever has the largest margin, that will be retained. Okay, and the other will be discarded. Smaller margin will be collapsed to 0. Horizontal margins, on the other hand, never collapse. As I told you, only vertical margins will collapse. Horizontal margins will collapse even for the special cases in which adjoining vertical margins do not collapse. So there are certain cases where adjoining vertical margins do not collapse. Width and height. The width and height properties specify the size of the element's content area. So I will show you the actual element content area would be the box model. I will just open the box model. So this is the actual. This is the width, and then this is the height of the element. That is the height and width of the element content area. Perhaps the only rival for collapsing the margins in troubling our students, box dimensions have a number of potential issues. How the collapsing happens for the margins, that might be a little confusing, and especially when we are trying to find the actual width and the actual height, we have to consider all these aspects into consideration: the border, the padding, and the margin. Only block level elements and non-text inline elements such as images have width and the height that you can specify. So there are block level elements which are non-text inline elements such as images, for which you can specify what is the width and what is the height. For the text elements, by default, according to that, the size will be fixed. For text, this is determined by the font size and the font face. So depending upon what is the font size and the font face, it will decide the what is the actual width and the height. For images, the width and height of the actual image in pixels determine the element's box dimension. So in case of images, the width and the height of the element box dimension is determined by these two parameters, width and the height. Since the width and height refer to the size of the content area, by default, the total size of an element is equal to not only the content area but also to the sum of the padding, borders, and margins. That's what I said. Whenever you are finding the width or the height, it is not only the width of the box width and height of the content area, but it will also include the what are the size of the padding, borders, and the margins. It will include them also. So we'll see one example. Before we go to this example where we will find the what is the width, we will look into some code examples. So I have a margin .html. I'll open with Notepad, and also I will note that particular page in the browser. Margin. So this is margin.html. You can see this. This is the example, and this is the code. For here, let us see the HTML first. We have a title. Okay, title margins demo. You can see margins demo here, and then we have one div. That's all. Inside the div, I have a text. It is not inside the paragraph. It is directly inside the div. And for this div, we have specified the style, box sizing, content box. We will see what is this content box in the next example. Width 300 pixel, height 100 pixel, padding 10 pixel, margin 50 pixel, border dotted 4-point blue, background color silver, overflow fixed. So overflow and box sizing we will see in a little bit. Before that, we'll see what is the width 300 pixel. So this is the size of the div, whatever the div we are specifying. So you can see this is the size of the 300 pixel. Just I will make it as 400 so that you can visually see what is the actual div. So you can see this is the border of the div. Okay, this is the width of the div, that is the content area, and height, of course, this is the height. Then padding 10 pixel. So padding is what? The space between this border and this text, from left, from the top. Okay, anyhow, write content, because we have less content, so obviously there is more padding. But if I say padding, just I will increase to 30 pixels so that you can visually see how that changes. Now you can see the distance, this distance and this distance will increase. Refresh, so you can see I increase the size. So I made 130 instead of, so that's why there is a huge difference. 30 pixel, you can see I increase, that is the padding. Then comes the margin. Margin is a distance between the parent. In this case, it is the parent is the body, between the parent and the element border, left, right. Okay, left, top, right, and bottom. Let me make this as 100 so that you can see this particular distance will increase. Did I make 1000? Okay, yes, I did. 100. You can see this distance increased. So let me reduce that because you might not have changed the difference. So now it will come to half. So you can see not only left, also on the top. That is the margin. Then border dotted. So this is the border is the dotted line, and 4pt, that is the width, 4-point blue color. So if I say instead of dotted, I will make it a solid. Whatever the changes you want, you can make it. You can see now solid. Then background color, right now you are seeing the background color as a silver. So that is the background color that is shown for the element. If you want to change that, you can change that to, let's say, yellow. See, the color of the background is changed. Then overflow, we can have a fixed, or it can be a scrolling value depending upon the how much is the content. We can have a scrolling. And content box will decide how the size, how the width of the particular element is calculated. We will see the slide, then we'll come back to the example, then we'll understand. So here you can see the next example, box sizing, content box. So type of the box is a content box. If it is a content box, then we have width is the content width is 200 pixel, height is 100 pixel, padding 5 pixel, then border, the border is 2 pixel, okay, 2 point, and margin is 10 pixel. If you want to actually find the true element height and the width, it is calculated as width is equal to, first is we start with the margin 10 plus 2, 2 is the border width, plus 5 is the padding, then 200 is nothing but the actual width of the element area. Again we have the padding 5, then width of the border 2 plus the margin 10, total 234. Similarly for the height it is calculated. But if you say the box sizing, instead of the content box you will say border box. If you say it is a border box, everything is included, okay. So whatever the thickness of the element border, padding, the content area, everything is included in 200. Everything is same. Everything else is exactly the same. Only thing is what we have changed is box sizing. Instead of a content box we have made it as a border box. In this case what would be the width is 10. What is 10? 10 is the margin. So 10 is the margin, that is the distance between the parent element and the element border. Then 200 is the width of the element, and again 10 is the margin, total 220. Similarly the height is calculated. So width and height, we already saw this property, background hyphen color silver. So for that particular paragraph it will provide a background of a silver color. And here you can see the height is 100 pixel and the text is uh, overflowing. So this is the overflow of the text. How to control that overflow, that property also we can set. Overflow property, there is a property called as overflow colon visible. If you set the overflow property as visible, then it will show all the content, even though this is the height of the paragraph 100 pixels, and only this will be shown with a particular background, rest will be visible. Okay, it is visible with whatever the background that is set for the parent element. Then second one is hidden. Let us say you don't want to show what is there beyond the box of the paragraph, then you will say hidden. Means you will see whatever is in the 100 pixel, that particular size of the paragraph. And next one is the scroll. Scroll will provide a scrolling link here. So the box size would be the same, but we will have scrolling bar on the side so that you can scroll and you can see. Then next one is the auto. When you set it as auto, by default it will scroll. We have a code for that. Okay, I have used the same example. I have overflow. Inside the overflow, what I will do is, in order to really see that overflow, we need to have a lot of content. Just I will copy this content many times in the div. Then first, fixed by default, some browsers will show that. First I will say visible. Let me change this to visible. And so you can see there is a little content that went outside. So let me paste more lines. I save it. Right now the property overflow is visible. So whatever is the overflow, it is still showing it. Then the next property what we can set is hidden. Okay, then what it will do, it will hide it. Then I will say this as property as hidden, and I will reload the page. So you will not see whatever is overflowing, you will not see that. The next property that I can set is, I can say it as scroll. Once I say scroll and reload, you will see a scrolling bar, a vertical scrolling bar. You can scroll and see the complete content. And the last option we can give is a auto. That is the automatic setting. Next, is there any questions? Any questions? Okay. So next is the sizing elements. While the previous example used pixels for its measurement, many contemporary designers prefer to use percentage or EM units for widths and heights. So in the previous example, we use the pixel, which is an absolute unit. Most of the time, we use the percentage and the EM units. Okay, it is a relative unit. Percentage and the EM are the relative units. When you use percentage, the size is relative to the size of the parent element. When you use the EM, the size of the box is relative to the size of the text within it. So so that is the both are relative. Here the it is relative to the size of the parent element. Here it is relative to the size of the box is relative to the size of the text within it. So whatever is the text. The rationale behind using these relative measures is make one's design scalable to the size of the browsers or devices that is viewing it. The reason behind making this as a, percentage or a EM, uh, every whenever you are accessing the particular application, the output screen, whatever you are displaying your web application, that size would be different. So according to that size, we can really scale the application. So this is the example we have, and here this is the example. We have body, div, class, pixels. Okay. First I will go through the all the styles, then we come back to this. Inside the style body, I have HTML comma body. These two elements will have margin 0, width 100%, height 100%. Means what? 100% of the parent. Background silver color. So you can see silver color, that is the HTML and the body. Then dot pixels. You already know this is a class selector. The class name is pixel dot followed by a class name. Then for this, we have width is 200 pixel, which is fixed. Height is 50 pixel, which is fixed. Background teal color. Then we have a another class selector dot percent. Here it is fixed in terms of pixels. Here it is percentage. Width 50%, height 50%, background olive color. Then we have one more class here, dot parent fixed. So here parent is fixed, width 400 pixel, height is 150 pixel, background beige color. Then we have one more class that is parent relative, width 50%, height 50%, background yellow color. So these are the different styles. Now we have a HTML that uses this particular thing. This is the first HTML, div class pixels. So this, it will have a fixed width, that is 200 pixel. Okay. Div class pixels, so it will use this one. Width is 200 pixel and height is 50 pixel, background is teal color. So you can see this is the 200 pixel, then height is 50 pixel. That is the first div. Second div percent. Second div percent is this. Width is 50%, height is 50%, background color is olive. So this is the one. Now what happens is whenever you resize this, this top div will remain as is. The below one will change according to the parent, because this is a percent. Percent is according to the parent. It would be 50, width would be half of the parent, height is half of the parent, of the parent, and color is olive. This is one example. Second one is we have div class parent fixed, and here we have parent fixed is this one. Width is 400 pixel, and height is 150 pixel. Then background is beige. So you can see this is the color. Okay. This is the strong percent has fixed size. That is the first text. Then second one is the div. This is the div we have. That is percent. This is using percent, and this div is using a fixed. Then we have one more div, parent relative. We uses the parent relative, and width is 50%, height is 50% of the parent. So I will show you the example so that will clear the doubts. This is the okay, size of elements. Open with Notepad, and I will open that HTML. So size of elements, sizing of elements. So you can see here. Now I will just explain how the HTML is. These are the properties. Body has margin is 0, means HTML body, everything it is attached to the browser viewport, and then pixels for dot percent, dot parent fixed. All these are the different selectors we have. Then body, it starts from here. Sizing elements, that is the name given. Sizing elements, that is the title. Div class parent fixed. So what is parent fixed? 400 pixel, then height is 150 pixel, and silver color. You can see this particular div. This is for fixed size 400 pixel, and background color is silver. Then inside this div I have parent has fixed size. Parent has fixed size. That will be shown with the bold. Then we have class percent. This percent is fixed one. You see here percent, this percent is it changes with the parent. Width is 50%, height is 50%, and background is olive color. And after that I have one more class, that is parent relative, and inside that parent has relative size. Parent has, this one has a relative size, and this is 50% of uh, the parent side, and parent size is also relative. This is 50% of the parent, but parent has a fixed size. So now just to understand, this is how it will look like. Just to make it understand, just I will resize this. You can see the changes. See, when I'm resizing, you can see the below div. Okay, the below div is, it is relative to the its parent, and this particular div is relative to this. As this one is getting resized according to the parent, this will also get resized. However, this is fixed. You can see that. I will show it again. The below div, it is increasing according to the parent size. But if you see this particular thing, it is not changing because it is according to the fixed size. Okay, we can make out. So that will give the idea about how the relative sizing happens. There are developer tools in current browsers. It make it significantly easier to examine and troubleshoot the CSS than was the case decade ago. You can use various browser CSS inspection tools to examine, for instance, the box values or a selected element. So using this particular option, developer tools, we can do lot of inspection. For example, for the browser, you can go here and more tools, and you can say developer tools. Every browser has a developer tool which will give more option to select certain things. Let us say here you want to access the elements. You can see here how the elements, this div, whatever the div I am talking about, this is the parent div. So each element can be accessed. So you can see the strong, You have to see the changes here as I'm making changes here. So I selected strong. Okay, I selected this particular div. I selected this particular text. Okay, so that is how you can access, and lot of other options are there. You can check networking if it is a web application like a client server thing. Right now this is just working on a local HTML. There is only a client side code. If there is anything network performance, all those things can be assessed using these developer tools. So these are the different browsers which provides different kinds of developer tools. Next is text styling. Text properties, two basic types. CSS provide two types of properties. Font properties that affect the font and its appearance. Paragraph properties affect the text in a similar way no matter which font is being used. And a word processor on a desktop machine can make use of any font that is installed on the computer, or the browsers are no different. So the way if you are using any let us say MS Word, you are using whatever the fonts that are installed on your computer, you can access every font and you can use it. Similarly, browsers can do the similar thing. However, just because a given font is available on the developer's computer, it does not mean that the same font will be available for all the users who view the site. So you are developing your application using certain fonts. It doesn't mean that whoever user is accessing those, it will be available for them too. For this reason, it is conventional to apply so-called web font stack. That is a series of alternate fonts to use in original font choices not on the user's computer. So we give a list of fonts. How we specify for paragraph, we say font family colon, then we have Cambria, then Georgia, Times New Roman serif. So according to the user system, suppose if user has a Cambria, then that particular font will be used. If it is not available on the user's computer, then Georgia will be used. If this is not available, it will use the Times New Roman. If it is not available, it will use the serif. Okay, if that is also not available, some generic. So this is the some generic serif is the generic font that will it will use. So you can provide a list of fonts. Font family property supports 5 different generic families. The browser supports a typeface from each family. So these are the 5 families. Okay, serif, this is how it will look like. This is serif, without serif, sans serif, monospace. The spaces would be exactly same. Then cursive, then fantasy. These are the generic font family. At font face, over the past few years, the most recent browser version has begun support the at font face selector in CSS. The selector allows you to use the font on your site even if it is not installed on the end user's computer. So this at font face, it will use the open source fonts like Google Web Fonts is there. Okay, Font Squirrel. Okay, that is how it will make, even though it is not available on the particular system where the application is getting a web application is getting access, it will get it from the open source open sources. Font sizes, the issues of uh, font sizes unfortunately somewhat tricky in print based programs such as word processor. Specifying the font size in points is unproblematic, because when you are doing an actual print, so you have to say, specify certain font size so that it will be printed properly. However, absolute units such as point size and inches do not translate very well pixel based devices. Suppose if it is not for the print purposes, specifying the fixed width, yeah, just I show you the example of the sizing elements. When I change the browser, okay, browser viewport was changed, the div which is below was scaling down according to the size, but the one which is the above, which uses the fixed size, it was not changing. So it is not a good idea if you are using the pixel based devices to use the fixed pixels. Somewhat surprisingly, pixels are also a problematic unit. Newer mobile devices is recent years have been increasing pixel density so that given CSS pixel do not correlate to single device pixel. If we wish to create a web layouts that work well on different devices, we should learn to use the relative units such as EM and percentages. So we should always use the EM and the percentages, which are relative units. One of the principles of the web is that the user should be able to change the size of the text if he or so wishes to do so. So that is the option that is given to the user if they want to change the size of the text. Using percentage or EM units ensures that the user action will work. How to use EMs and percents? We should specify the font size, both EM units as well as and percentages are relative to the parent's font size. Here, how to use EMs and percents? We have a body. Browser's default text size is usually 16 pixels. So for particular browser, we have a default text size of 16 pixels. In paragraph, if you say 100% or 1 EM, that means 100% of the parent. So this paragraph is inside the body. So it will be given as a 16 pixel, or you can say 1 time the 16 pixel, that is 16 pixel. You can either say 100% or 1 EM. For head 3, okay, head 3, if you specify as 125%, then it would be 1.25 times the 16 pixel. That is, either you can say 125% or 1.125 EM. It will become 18 pixel. H2, if you want to specify 150% of parent, so it is 1.5 times 24 pixels, and 200%, it is double the size of the parent, that is 16 pixel, it will be 32 pixel. This is how you are going to set it. Body font size 100%, font size 1.125 EM. This is 1.5 EM to EM. So this is the code, that simple code is written. This text will be shown with respective pixels. While this looks pretty easy to master, things unfortunately can quickly become quite complicated. Remember that percents and EM units are relative to their parents. So if the parent font size changes, this affects all of its contents. You have to be very careful. This is relative to the parent. If you make any changes to the parent size, all the elements which are using the percent or the EM will get affected. So here one more code we have. This is paragraph we have H1. Then inside that we have an article, and inside the article we have header, paragraph, div, and this is how. For using the styling for this, we can use like this, using 16 pixel scale. Body is 100%. Paragraph and H1, paragraph is 16 pixel, and 2em means H1 is 32 pixel. Similarly, body 100%, paragraph 16 pixel, and header one is double the original, that is 32 pixel. And if you see article 75%, so it would be 75% of the parent. So we have article is inside the body, so it would be 16 into 0.75, 24 pixel. And paragraph inside article H1, we have it as 2, okay, 2 EM, and P we have 1 EM. So for H1 it would be 2 into 16 into 0.75, and for paragraph 1 into 16 into 0.75. So this 0.75 factor is applied on top of this. Similarly, this division. REM unit, so it is a root EM. CSS3 now supports a new relative measure, that is REM, for root EM unit. The unit is always relative to the size of the root element. So we know that the root element is the HTML element. REM is always relative to the root element. Suppose if you have some other element in between, it will not consider that. It will directly size with the REM. Instead of EM, you are going to use REM. So it is relative to the root. However, since Internet Explorer prior to version 9 do not support REM units, you need to provide some type of fallback for this use. So version 9 and before that, it doesn't support REM. So we have to provide fallback. If you remember the location, right? Suppose if this particular system supports REM, then what will happen is if the browser supports REM, then it will use one REM. For older version, it will take 16 pixel because this is not applicable. This is only for the new browsers. The fallback is the font size is 16 pixel. That completes the box model and the text styling. So that also completes the module 1.